Breaking right now on the Weather Channel, getting brand new pictures from the air live just west of Oklahoma City, watching a storm that now does have a tornado warning associated with it. And from this vantage point, we do not see a tornado right now, but this storm is showing signs of rotation. And if a storm right now near Oklahoma City is going to produce a tornado, it is this one right here. So K4, our affiliate there in Oklahoma City, is up in the air with their helicopter, as they do during severe weather, and this certainly is a day of severe weather. Potential tornado outbreak on our hands right now. Surveying this scene here, Dr. Postel, as we're looking here at the monitor, is there anything jumping out at you at this moment?
Well, from this vantage point, it does not, as you said, does not look like there's a circulation on the ground. It doesn't look like it's got a tornado with it. But this is definitely a thunderstorm that is a candidate to produce a tornado very soon. It's got some pretty strong rotation aloft, and we've got to watch. I'm assuming they are looking at the updraft there with maybe some rain curtains beginning to wrap around it. We have to watch that part of the storm. Yeah, we're watching that very closely. So let me go to my max here just to sort of show you what part of Oklahoma we're talking about. Just to the west of Oklahoma City, and this is one thunderstorm in a cluster of a whole lot more that are equally dangerous all across the panhandle of Texas and far western Oklahoma. But I'm going to zoom in on this one. This is the warning that we're talking about. That is that storm on the bottom right part of your screen. This is a tornado warning that includes Canadian and Kingfisher counties in Oklahoma. That is going for another, well, 45 minutes, so that's a long time from now. And you can see the hook echo. Let's zoom in on this, Brandon, on the radar. Let's put the radar on there and zoom in and keep that picture on the right. Now, I don't know, I'm guessing that the helicopter is looking probably west of some direction, some component westward.
Based on the fact that it's backlit and it's extra dark.
And they would be looking for a tornado, likely not far from there, very near where that little curly Q is in the radar reflectivity. It does suggest there is some enhanced rotation here, not far from El Reno. So looking at the K4's camera shots, it doesn't look like there's a tornado in progress, but definitely this storm could eventually do that, no problem.
And it's zoomed in right now, the camera, but I think what the big picture shows what we call like a lowering of the clouds, where the clouds kind of have a point in them where it tends to be a little bit lower. And just to the east of where this camera is Oklahoma City, and that is where we find storm tracker Jim Cantori. We want to check in with Jim right now and get his thoughts on what's happening right now and how the day is expected to play out. Jim.
Interesting day, Chris. It happens a lot of times out here. We start off cool north of the warm front. Now the warm front's through us. It's hot. It's humid. You see what's happening off to my west-northwest a little bit. And let's show you that direction as we kind of look that way. So you can see certainly some darker skies. That's the Devon building, by the way, in downtown Oklahoma City, Devon Tower. And it is taller than 800 feet. Tallest building in the state of Oklahoma, as a matter of fact. But you're certainly a little bit darker that way. As we swing around a little bit more toward the southwest, Chris, which is where we're going to see the bulk of our stuff come in, certainly in this southerly southwest quadrant. You know, just a lot of cloud cover. We've never broken out today here in Oklahoma City into the pure sunshine. All right, but you definitely felt the humidity on the increase in through here. And isn't it interesting that we see the first storm of the day go near El Reno? And one of the things I want to note about that tornado warning, guys, if you're looking at it, is look at how long it is. Okay, look at how far out it goes, both in the terms of its mileage north and also even the width. So that tells you right there, that is a signal that the Weather Service is looking for very fast motion with these storms. As they develop, they're going to race off to the north and east. So you're going to see these long tornado warnings, and so they're going to change from time to time. Just keep that in mind. Looking out through the town, again, there's just not been a lot of travel here. They made a decision this morning to close down a lot of the metro schools. You know, interstates, if you will, on average, have seen average travel here, but most of the roads here downtown, Chris, have not seen much traffic whatsoever. Back to you, buddy.
Hey, Jim, I think we got a tornado in progress right now. We want to go to storm tracker Charles Peak, who is joining us from Texas. A couple of tornado-warned storms. And beyond the trees right there, as Dr. Postel and I have been watching this storm getting more and more defined here, Dr. Postel. What are you seeing? Before we're going to talk to Charles in just a moment, but Dr. Postel, when you look at this, what are you seeing?
A likely tornado. It's hard to see if it's on the ground. The tree is in the way, but my guess is it probably is. We've been watching this storm now for a while. This is a supercell that has exhibited very strong rotation. rotation. Now it looks like that rotation has gone all the way to the ground. That would be my guess. And this is a classic supercell in the panhandle of Texas, and our own Charles Peak is on it.
And Charles, as you're looking at this, I think we've been watching this for the past couple of minutes, and it really seems to be taking shape. Can you walk us through what you're seeing right now and what you've seen over the past, say, 10, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's just about to come from behind the trees here for you, but it's been on the ground for several minutes here. It started out as a rope, and then it fizzled out, and then now it's reformed here, and you got what you're seeing on the screen.
So I think that Dr. Postel and I were watching this as it reformed. How long was it in progress before it reformed?
It was probably only about 3 or 4 minutes, and a very long rope tornado. And then now we've got just a skinny tornado moving along towards Paducah. If you're in Paducah, you need to take cover right now. It is going in that general direction with the town there.
So it's hard to judge in 2 dimensions just how big the tornado is. It doesn't look to be fairly wide, but that can have also a lot to do with distance. The farther away from you that it is, the smaller it's going to look, and the closer it is, the bigger it's going to look. Do you have any sense how far away this tornado is that we're looking at right here?
I would say right now it's about 2 miles to my north, which would be I'm south of Paducah, so it's a couple of miles to the west of Paducah, moving to the northeast right now.
And I thought, out of the corner of my eye, I saw a cloud-to-ground lightning strike a few minutes ago. Have you been seeing any lightning with this, and if so, how much?
That lightning strike actually was the first one that I've seen out here right now. It's not much lightning with this cell here.
All right, Charles Peak, we know you're going to be monitoring this. I want to bring in Dr. Postel. If Dr. Postel has any questions for Charles, or just Dr. Postel, what are you thinking when you look at the video, the live feed coming in, and what you're seeing right now on the radar on the velocity?
Well, what's interesting is that we have an observed tornado. We have a tornado in progress. That's clear. It's been observed. Our own Charles Peak is on it, and the circulation is on the ground. I can tell you that. But if you look at this, you might think, well, that looks like a relatively broad rotation, right? The reds and the greens aren't as tightly packed together as we've seen in many other cases. But the radar is looking several thousand feet above the ground. It cannot see the subcloud layer, which is exactly what we're looking at with this tornado. You can see that on the right half there of your screen, the funnel cloud shaping up there. So this is a tornado that is part of a thunderstorm that's going to last a long time. Now, the tornado may go in and out, may cycle back and forth, may dissipate, may come back. But the storm, the parent storm itself, is going to be with us for a long time yet to come, moving generally northeastward away from Paducah, Texas, I might add. This is about 90 miles east of Lubbock.
And these storms have been cruising along pretty good, about 50 miles an hour. And we're actually, in real time, if Charles estimates it's about 2 miles away, watching it go across the screen. And when you can see that, you can tell it's moving along pretty quickly. Now, what's your concern going forward with the environment and the possibility for these storms to redevelop over and over again?
Okay, that's a really good question. I think as these storms develop and move northeastward out of parts of Texas here, maybe just south of Childress, by the way, the Paducah, Texas storm we're looking at is right there. It is going to move into southwestern Oklahoma, as are many other thunderstorms nearby, into an area that is extremely supportive, even more so than where they are now, extremely supportive of tornadoes. This is a tornado parameter that sometimes meteorologists look at to give you an idea of how suited the atmosphere is to support a tornado if a thunderstorm moves into it. And you can see that, in fact, we actually have a tornado in progress here, where this tornado parameter is not really that high. It's there, but it's not that high. But it is going to be moving, if that thunderstorm continues on its merry way, into Oklahoma, into a region that is much more supportive of tornadoes. So you have to watch this storm very closely.
So you think it really is possible that a storm could lose its tornado warning, and that same severe thunderstorm or that same storm could end up getting another warning?
Yes, it could. Absolutely. And I would not be surprised if many of them kind of exhibit that characteristic coming out of Texas and moving into Oklahoma. And I think we're going to see a whole lot more tornado warnings in Oklahoma going forward.
So speaking of that, what are you thinking? Is this going to be the area to watch for the next?
There is one storm right in here, in southwestern Oklahoma. If you can, Brandon, our fabulous weather producer, zoom in. Let me get to a different max there. Zoom in southwestern Oklahoma near Altus. That is one of the storms, Chris, that you were pointing out. You know what? This looks like the storm that we saw just west of Oklahoma about 20 minutes ago. kind of an elongated, sort of rather benign-looking radar pattern here with some rain and some thunderstorms, probably some lightning in there too. This could get a lot more severe very quickly.
So the storms in Oklahoma, you mentioned the elongated nature. Can you talk a little bit about what that tells you in Oklahoma versus Texas? Texas is much more classic looking. Yeah. Right? These are more elongated.
Yes, I'll tell you why. So can you zoom out a little bit, Brandon? Go toward, show us a picture of Oklahoma and Texas together to give everybody a view of what we're talking about. The storms that you're talking about that look more sort of circular here in Texas, they're more mature. They've got much stronger updrafts. They're able to withstand the exceptionally strong wind aloft. The newer thunderstorms, the young ones out in here, are just not yet that buoyant and are getting tilted over and knocked over by those very strong winds aloft. So there, the shear is dominating the structure of the storm, kind of leaning it over and stretching it out. Here, it's a much more delicate or evenly balanced situation where you have very strong thermodynamics and strong updrafts in the presence, able to withstand that vertical shear.
So in the short term, does that mean that these storms have less of a likely of really getting nasty, or once it overcomes the initial shear, they're going to be worse?
That they're just young. They're going to get older, and they're going to be able to withstand that shear. And the overall support for tornadoes is extremely high once those storms do develop even more. And in fact, if some of these out of Texas come into that part of the state of Oklahoma.
All right, so is there anything so far?
Yeah, I want to look at that K4 camera. There we go. So this is now the storm that we're watching west of Oklahoma City is looking a little bit more suspicious to me. The hook echo is very clear on the radar. You can see that right in there just north of El Reno. There's a well-defined circulation. There's a strong updraft. And it looks like there may be some kind of lowering in there, some kind of, this wall cloud may have been, maybe producing some appendages downward to some circulation.
And now the lowering by themselves doesn't always necessarily mean anything, but what it does now that you see these kind of appendages hanging out, this can also illustrate where there's rotation. Because now we have a little bit of reference if we start to see some of those appendages going from left to right or right to left. And if you see both of those close to each other, that tells us there's some circulation.
You know, that's a really good point, because oftentimes tornadoes are misidentified because they're actually just scud cloud. They're not rotating. They're just pieces of cloud hanging below another piece of cloud as a lowering, but not a tornadic one. You have to look at them when you're visually trying to spot tornadoes. You have to look at it for some extended period to see if indeed the clouds are, as you say, are rotating.
And you get a little sense, these wind turbines now that we can see. And if you've ever seen these up close, they're huge.
Yeah.
Right? These aren't just something that people put in their backyard for decoration. These are huge energy making devices out there to show you and give you a little bit of scale of how big these storms are.
Right. And we're scanning all around the K4 helicopter just northwest of Oklahoma City near El Reno, scanning the skies looking for a tornadic circulation. But the radar reflectivity is pretty clear that this is indeed a supercell. It just hasn't made a tornado yet.
And it's tricky because of the elongated nature of it. It's really hard to see exactly, and you kind of tell by the experienced pilot too, and the camera crew they have. They know what they're doing. They know what they're looking at, and as you see them scanning around, I think they're kind of wondering the same thing. Is it or isn't it? Where is it? Will it be? Is it here? Is it there? You kind of have to wait and see exactly what eventually drops out of the sky.
Yeah, and you know, the longer this particular storm waits to produce a tornado, I think the less likely it becomes, because as it moves into northern Oklahoma fairly quickly, the storm motions I think are about 40 miles per hour, maybe more than that, somewhere around there. But as they continue to move off toward the north fairly quickly, eventually they're going to run into more stable air in northern Oklahoma, and that is going to cut off the access to the inflow required for a tornado. And in other words, the farther north it goes, the less likely it is to produce a tornado. Yeah, we just put on here some temperatures in the background. Guys, the warm front is right here. Once that storm, which is, I guess, right about there, once it moves north of that boundary into the cooler air, the odds of it producing a tornado go way down as it gets cut off from the required inflow near the surface.
All right, so we're still watching this develop minute by minute here. We have crews out in the field tracking the very latest. We're tapping into live video feeds. We're monitoring it all here at the Weather Channel and on the ground in Sarah, Oklahoma. That's where we find meteorologist Tevin Wooten. Tevin, how are things there?
Chris, things are changing. Let me tell you, we talked about this southerly flow with bringing in warmer air and the higher dew points. The air now is dry. We had this gust come through. You would almost, some maybe describe it as paranormal activity, or you felt like a ghost came through. It feels like we have now walked into a freezer. That's how cold it is now here. And by the way, the wind direction has shifted. They're not out of the south now. They're coming from the north, which is typically a colder wind. We do know there is a tornado warned storm to our north, so that's going to be to my left here. So perhaps maybe the outflow from that storm has started to sway its way over towards the south here. But man, let me tell you, that was some freaky stuff. The entire crew, we all just kind of like stopped and we asked each other, did you feel that? And that's how quickly things can change today. So you want to make sure to have a way to get those warnings. Stay tuned to the Weather Channel if you can, safely, of course, safely being the key word, but have a way to get those warnings and know what county you're in. That's the way those warnings come out from the National Weather Service. We are in Beckham County. Know where your shelter is, know where your county, because this will be a very dangerous day. Of course, we here at the Weather Channel will do our very best to keep you safe. We'll be right back.
A flash flood watch is in effect. Currently in our area, 54 degrees with rainy conditions. Tonight, windy with thunderstorms, low 54. Tuesday, heavy thunderstorms, high 72. Here's our 7-day outlook.
Weather Channel, we want to show you video from moments ago of the first confirmed tornado of the day. This one near Paducah, Texas. This was by our storm tracker, Charles Peak, and you can see what was evident here in parts of Cottle County, clearly supercell. This was before it had spawned a tornado, but notice the yeah, you can see it there just above the tree on the left side of the tree. There, yeah. It's vague. It's a very thin funnel, at least from this vantage point. But certainly we've seen pictures of this confirmed tornado.
And as we were watching this live here on the Weather Channel just moments ago, once it eventually got to the right of that tree stand or those bushes, whatever that is right there, it was much more apparent. And we spoke with Charles Peak, the tracker that was out there shooting this video, and he said this was actually the second time this tornado, this thunderstorm produced a tornado. The same tornado kind of dissipated and then reformed, and it became much more obvious once it got to the right here, as you're seeing the bushes or the trees right there. He estimates it was about 2 miles away when it was coming through. So we want to get expert analysis right now from Dr. Greg Postel with a look at the storms. And Dr. Postel, you know, before we came back here, I heard you talking. There's a lot going on right now. What is standing out right now to you as far as, well, you know, what's popping right now? What are you most concerned about?
So I hate what I'm seeing on the radar. I see a lot of discrete supercells. Now, there's only a couple of tornado warnings. I can count about 4 of them on this map. Go to my map if you can, guys. There we got a couple. We got 3 out here in the Texas Panhandle, 1 just to the west-northwest of Oklahoma City, but a lot more severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm telling you, I think they're going to be converted, many of them, over to tornado warnings. Any one of these supercells right in here is going to, you know, have a good chance at becoming tornadic, and we've got to get to some of those right now. Let's go to one. This is now in the Panhandle of Texas, just to the south of Wellington, Texas, a very well-defined hook echo with a strong circulation inside of that. This is warned for Childress and Hall counties in Texas until 3:45 local time, so about another 25 minutes. Let's zoom out, if we can, to give some perspective into where we are talking. This is now north of a storm, which is down here not far from Paducah, Texas, which we know has had a tornado, which our own Charles Peak documented it, a beautifully picturesque tornado in the middle of a field and it is now moving off toward the northeast very quickly. So now let's zoom out again. I want to go to the one west of Oklahoma City. I think we're developing a tornado as we speak, right in there. This is for Kingfisher County. Can we go to where the K4, there it is. Yeah, there's the K4 camera. Can you see that lowering? Now, I've been watching this. It does look like there is substantial rotation involved with this. In the bigger view, they're zooming out a little bit. Now, the camera is very likely looking right in that part of the storm. So right in the, can we zoom in, Brandon? Right on the southwest part of this sort of appendage, comma-looking shaped thunderstorm. And it looks like there is a tornado now very close to being in progress. I don't know if it's on the ground yet, but it's darn close. It's hard to know how far above the ground. What's that?
It could be that we're real close to it, and it's giving the appearance that it's on the ground.
That's correct. We don't know for sure how far away the camera is and that lowering in particular.
What we'll see the trees start to sway around if that's the case.
Yeah. And watch out for dust being kicked up on the ground. That's usually the first indicator. But is it in the southwest part of the storm, presumably, that they're looking at? I'm guessing the helicopter is over here looking on the inflow side of the storm from pretty far away, a safe distance. So those cameras can zoom very, very close in. But let's go to that K4 shot, guys. Please, going back to the K. I mean, they're watching potentially a tornado developing as we speak. And there it is. It's hard to know, again, as Chris was saying, how far away from it is. But look at that. This is near Piedmont, Oklahoma, just to the northwest, likely, of Piedmont, Oklahoma. And the circulation that you're looking at on the screen, on the video, would be right about there, southeast of Kingfisher, Oklahoma. So this is one storm of a whole lot more yet to come that are going to be doing the same thing, becoming severe very quickly and probably producing tornadoes shortly thereafter. The western Oklahoma is in real jeopardy of seeing some big-time tornadoes in the coming hours. Chris and Chris, back to you guys.
And thanks so much, Dr. Postel. We'll continue with the expertise as we continue to monitor these tornadoes, second by second, because they continue to change.
That's right. People in Oklahoma and Texas definitely need to be on alert today. It could mean the difference between life and death, and thankfully, some people are taking the warning seriously.
I would say run and take shelter right away immediately, because it's your life, you don't want to sit around and say, oh, well, we'll just, wait. No, because that could be a life, it could turn out tragic.
All right. And again, that's it could turn out tragic if you don't take those steps now. We've been talking about this. It's been a week now, and we knew this day was coming, and it's here. So let's take you to Oklahoma City, where we find storm tracker Jim Cantori. Jim, you're elevated. You're able to see the horizon around you. Can you see that storm off to your west?
Yeah, I can't see that, Chris. That's going to be over the Devon Tower over there and moving on to the north. So it's too far away from me to see. And as a matter of fact, this is really the first time that we've gotten into even enough sun to have a shadow, and that's even gone by. But I want to show you here what we got safe. Let's get down to the tree, first of all, because you can see the southeast winds just howling in here, okay? And interestingly enough, the flag, of course, confirming that. You're looking over toward the Bricktown area here in Oklahoma City. Great spot. Obviously not tonight, certainly, but look at the way the winds are going. They're coming from the southeast, okay? The storm motion is going to come from the southwest, so that's across these cranes over here. So it's going to be a whole interesting day here, guys. We'll be back in a few seconds to talk more about this. Stick around.
Welcome back into the Weather Channel. We're continuing to monitor this tornado-warned storm now to the northwest of Oklahoma City, and it's been trying very hard to put down circulation all the way to the ground. We haven't seen that yet, but we have seen some close touches, at least from this vantage point from the helicopter view.
That's right, and right now it just looks like dark skies and some rain off in the distance. But Chris, what I'm looking at, and I can't tell if it's the motion, you know what, I think it might just be the motion of the helicopter. But see where there's the lighter colored kind of fragmented clouds, the white clouds? Looks like they were moving, on the left, but it looked like they're moving from right to left. But I think that might just be the motion of the helicopter. But that's what you're going to look for, those scud clouds.
No, I think they are moving. I see what you're talking about, and it almost looks like it's rotating from from the right to the left.
I think Dr. Postel wanted to weigh in on that.
Are you seeing that too?
Yeah, I'm seeing that. But you know, the funny thing is the Doppler radar just south of Oklahoma City scanning this storm is detecting winds of almost 80 miles per hour at 2,700 feet from the southeast. So there's a wind very fast, right, just a little bit above the ground in one direction, and then not nearly as fast in the other. So there is a spin going on, not that far off the ground, but I don't think it's made it to the ground. That lowering right there may indeed be sort of an attempt for this thing to extend the circulation to the ground.
And Dr. Postel, you mentioned that this storm is running out of time to stay mature and develop a tornado because it's running into some cooler, more stable air to its north.
I think it's got about another county or so moving northward. So about another maybe 20 to 30 miles, say, before it really runs out of an ability to effectively produce a tornado because it's ruining, Chris, as you were saying all day long, it's going to be moving into more cooler and more stable air that's just not really going to allow it to produce a tornado very well. So it is a dangerous storm now, no doubt about that, with all the hazards that accompany supercells and maybe even a tornado. At least it's trying to produce a tornado. I'm looking at the video there on the bottom right as it moves northward. Now we're east of Kingfisher, going on a path about like that, so west of Guthrie. This is almost paralleling I-35, maybe slightly eastward of due north. But again, it probably has another maybe half an hour or so in an environment that will support tornadoes. And you can see, can we zoom out a little bit? So the storm is right about, I think it's right about there. And the warm front, based on this sort of transition from much cooler air to warmer air, is right about there. Kind of an irregularly shaped boundary. But as this thing goes up this way, it's going to run out of an ability to draw in unstable air from the surface. It's going to do it from higher up. And as it does that, it's not going to be as supportive of producing a tornado, and it's not going to be able to bring that circulation back to the ground in an otherwise cooler environment right near the surface. So this is a pretty remarkable video, but overall in the big picture, this is just part of an overall really stormy area of Oklahoma and Texas, and we've got a whole lot of tornado warnings to deal with. Yeah,
I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to go to that Childress tornado because just given the radar indications, it has a different rotation, at least on that one scan. It looks like it's on the north part of the storm.
Yeah,
what are you seeing on that?
I see a couple of we'll look at the Doppler velocity scan, but I see a significant hook echo there. There might be a circulation in here. Let's zoom in on the Doppler velocities if we can to see if indeed there's a pair of them. Yeah, there is. One right in here, I think, Chris, and there's another one right in there. So I don't know if these are tornadic circulations. Certainly these things are spinning aloft. Now, what we're looking at on the left are storms in Texas, and what you're looking at in the bottom right is a storm just to the west of Oklahoma City. So these are very different storms, but let's look at that on the right side there. Can you see that? This is the K4 camera. So let's go back. Hold on to that for a little bit. We may be watching the development of a tornado in front of our eyes. That's Brandon, weather producer. Let's go back to our Oklahoma storm, because this is now just to the east of Kingfisher, Oklahoma. And, you know, the precursor to a tornado is a rotation aloft. Now, the question is whether or not this storm is capable of bringing that rotation to the ground. This one's trying. I'm not sure it has already, but certainly it's trying, and it may be pretty close. So I'm going to go to Tevin Wooten right now, who is in Sayre, Oklahoma, western Oklahoma, in the presence of some pretty nasty storms nearby as well. Some of them very dangerous, kind of moving in that general direction. So I'm going to send it over to Tevin Wooten right now. Tevin, take it away.
All right, yeah, we are in Sayre, Oklahoma, and let me tell you, we have felt quite the temperature difference here. At Clinton, about 15 to 20 miles away, the airport is registering temperatures at 77 degrees. It is 65 degrees here per our car's airport, and I think part of that cold air actually came from a rear flank downdraft, or maybe perhaps a forward flank, depending on the orientation of a tornado warning cell that was 2 hours north and west. But let me tell you, this stuff is very freaky. It can change fast, and that is why you have to trust the experts here with the Weather Channel. We will keep you updated, and we will keep you safe. And we will also be right back with more continuing coverage of this tornado outbreak.
Welcome back into Severe Storm Central here on the Weather Channel. We're monitoring this tornado-warned storm to the northwest of Oklahoma City. We've been keeping a close watch on these live aerials near Cashin, Oklahoma, on what has appeared multiple times on what's been trying to form a tornado. Now, we haven't quite seen that yet, Chris, but the storm's trying very hard, and it's in a favorable environment to allow so.
Yeah, and we still haven't seen that significant lowering that tells us we're about to see a tornado, but it certainly has been getting very close here. Always a unique perspective here from K4 TV, seeing the view from a helicopter of a storm that does and has had a tornado warning on it.
Yeah, it's trying to produce a tornado, and it may be very close to doing so. Looking at the radar that's associated, that might be it right there. Maybe we'll see.
We've seen a lot of that. A lot of these spin-ups, and then they...
Right, it's hard to know. The wind at about 3,000 feet above the ground, and that may be close to where the cloud base is out of the southeast at 80 miles an hour. And then not very far away from there, the wind is out of the northwest at almost just a couple of miles per hour. So there's an inherent spin, very strong one, inside of this, aloft, right at the cloud level. The question is, it's trying to bring that spin all the way down to the ground, but I don't think it's been successful yet. We just have to watch it, but it could very well do that at any moment.
And you mentioned also, too, there's another tornado-warned storm to the west of this one.
Well, there's a lot of storms to the west of this one. This is one of many significant thunderstorms in western Oklahoma and central Oklahoma that got to be monitored closely. But I'm right now going to send it over to Jim Cantori, who's kind of awaiting, unfortunately, all of this in Oklahoma City, just to the east of where all this is taking place. Jim.
We're set up here. I heard you mention that 80 miles an hour at 3,000. I mean, that's incredible. That's on the upper end of the scale for any type of outbreak, certainly that we've seen. But you can see the wind here, even down on the ground, isn't too shabby. We've gusted over 30 miles per hour. You can see these trees. Just how on the flag is a really good representation of the southeast wind that we have here in Oklahoma City. But what's really interesting, as we kind of turn and head north and then eventually south again, this is where our storm motion is going to come from. Okay, so it's going to come across those cranes that are there. So that, again, is that change in wind direction with height going from southeast surface to a little bit more southerly and even southwest as we go aloft. And, you know, it'll be kind of interesting to see how those cranes held up. Notice the direction in which they're going. They're actually kind of paralleling the wind flow a little bit. They were out there working on those today. We had a little glimpse of sun, but it has been a mostly cloudy day here in Oklahoma City. But we face that threat certainly later on tonight. Okay, as we go toward the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock hour, we expect these storms to really increase in development across western Oklahoma and just continue to push toward the east. And we face a flood threat too, because they could sit here for a while during the overnight hours. So this is certainly one of the hot spots today for what could be very, very active night with severe thunderstorms going until about midnight and then potentially ramping up again as we take you toward tomorrow. Otherwise, get what you got to get done in Oklahoma City. Get home. Make sure you're safe. A great decision, I think, by the superintendents of schools on this anniversary of the EF5 more tornado to get kids off school, out of school, and keep more cars off the road. I think that certainly has helped. You know, we certainly thought the initiation was going to be a little bit earlier here. The bad news is the fact that it's held off a little bit has let the instability increase, okay, and has brought us closer to those stronger mid-level winds. So that actually, frankly, is worse to have it hold off, because you're going to wait and use the maximum that the atmosphere can give you for this afternoon. And of course, a testament to this whole thing along, Chris, as you know, we've had snow in Flagstaff, Arizona. We've had a tornado east of Phoenix, so kind of a testament to this very powerful trough that's going to be swinging out into the plains tonight and really keeping the storms going all night long up and through Missouri and points northeast. So we got a long night ahead of us here in Oklahoma City, but we're ready for it. Back to you.
All right, Jim, we appreciate it. And also ready in Texas as well. Oklahoma, Texas, even Kansas, all need to be on alert for all different types of severe weather.
Yeah, we had the first confirmed tornado in Paducah, Texas, and Storm Tracker Charles Peak was there filming it at the time. I want to bring in Charles Peak now. And Charles, you know, where are you at in reference to Paducah, and what are you trying to get to now?
Right now, I'm about 5 miles north of Paducah. I've got a lowering on that second cell that had produced a tornado back to the southwest of the one that I caught earlier. So it looks like it's just I'm not in a good position right here for the contrast. So it's just very difficult to see it. I can see it with my naked eye, but I don't think it's showing up very well. It's just it's a clear lowering, but I can't tell that there's anything on the ground.
And Charles, yeah, the contrast is a little tough. Can you give us an idea if you were to break the screen up into quarters, maybe from left to right? Can you give us kind of an idea of how far to the right we're looking for the possible tornado?
You would look directly in the center. I've got it centered there, and about the only thing you can see is the wall cloud is a little brighter that stands out, and just not in a good position to be able to get it with the way the sun is shining behind it and not giving me good contrast there.
Right, actually we're looking at video from earlier, not the live feed that Charles was just talking about. But this atmosphere has been evolving and changing minute by minute, and of course we'll continue to let you know when we can expect to see more of this coming up.
Stream your news just like everything else you love with Local Now. It's completely free and ready to go when and where you are. Local Now. Find it in your favorite app store.
A flash flood watch is in effect. Currently in our area, 52 degrees with rainy conditions. Tonight, windy with thunderstorms, low 54. Tuesday, heavy thunderstorms, high 72. Here's our 7-day outlook.
This severe storm center, you're watching the Weather Channel. We're watching what seems to be a tornado in progress here. It comes and goes. It's not that distinct, obvious cone going all the way to the ground, but certainly at times seeing circulation right at the surface.
And we're having reports of 2 tornadoes from this K4. You can't really see in this shot, but that's what the report is. At least at some time there have been multiple vorticities here at the ground level.
That's right. We've seen the circulation extend to the ground. So there has been, if there isn't right this second, 1 minute ago, there was a tornado, obviously apparent with the condensation making it all the way to the ground, but the circulation and the damaging winds are still there. There is strong RFD, rear flank downdraft, strong winds circulating around this wall cloud, and at about 90 miles per hour is the wind at 3,000 feet above the ground. So just above this cloud base right here, the winds are howling at 90 miles per hour in one direction and about 30 miles per hour in the other direction. So very, very strong circulation is apparent, and you can actually see the spin in front of you. It doesn't take any imagination to see that, and the circulation from time to time becomes apparent on the ground. So a tornado in progress now across parts of Oklahoma. This is now just north of Oklahoma City, and let's see, this is near Crescent, Oklahoma, and basically we are going to be watching this and following this as it continues to move almost due north just to the west of Mulhall, paralleling I-35 now in north central Oklahoma. I want to stay with this picture, guys, don't you?
Yes, I think, yeah, if we can stay with this a little bit, I think what we're seeing right now live is a little bit delayed. I'm watching the real-time feed coming in, and I think it's going to get a little bit more impressive here if we just hang with it for a little bit longer. The lowering, I think, eventually will become a bit more obvious.
Yes, the rain curtains, the descending rain curtains associated with the hook echo have basically wrapped all the way around this. You can kind of see it. It's raining in a sheet that is circulating around the tornado, and that's pretty obvious. And so there are damaging winds, certainly with this thing, perhaps up to, I don't know how fast they are, but we know the winds aloft at 3,000 feet are 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, and eventually here, there you go.
Yeah,
that's a little bit more
what we were
obvious
looking at
here.
Earlier. And you can see, yeah, look at that right there.
And what you can do also is look at the surface, look for the trees to move around, and what looks like, you know, fog between the trees, is that debris flying around or are those birds? Did you see that?
There may be certainly water vapor, certainly rain, everything's blowing around. This circulation is on the ground very clearly. You will see that in just a second. And there is the circulation moving northward very quickly. And this is a tornado moving northward, paralleling I-35 north of Oklahoma City, just to the west of Mulhall. And this tornado in progress is associated with winds, I'm scanning it right now, at about 95 miles per hour at 3,000 feet above the ground. So there you go. So this is, again, this is on the right side of your screen. Brandon, if you can animate this, there's the hook echo right in there. And hold on. There we go. And the circulation, the part of the storm that we're looking at is right in here. Now, can you get on there with the base velocity, Brandon? And let's show everybody where that circulation is and then zoom in. Please do me that favor. So right in here. You see that? Where the yellows and the greens just to the northwest of Crescent, Oklahoma. Extremely strong winds. It's had 90 plus miles per hour in that direction at 3,000 feet and about 20 miles per hour in that direction. So very well defined circulation. And we are going to be following this going forward because I think it's got about another, let's see, maybe 20 or 30 miles before it runs out of room to remain tornadic. So Chris and Chris, this continues to be a real threat as we go through parts of north central Oklahoma. If you live in Lovell or Hayward, take shelter now. Interior room, away from windows, as many walls as you can between you and the outside. At lower level, if possible, lowest level. And that would give you your best protection against tornadic winds.
If you look at the trees there on the ground, they're shaking violently because of the winds just outflow from this rotation.
Yeah, I mean, this is all associated with the parent circulation that is around the tornado. So this is very certainly producing damaging winds as well at some distance away from where the contact is of the circulation. But right now I'm going to send it over to Jim Cantori, who's in Oklahoma City, just to the south by about 30 miles of where this is all happening. Jim.
Yeah, so as I look off to the north a little bit, you know, we can certainly see it a little bit darker up there, but no evidence of that at all, especially with the haze that we have here today, Dr. Postel. Guys, if you remember in the news, and we were actually watching this unfold on the Weather Channel last, I think it was Wednesday morning, okay, the scaffolding on the Devon Tower that was up there doing damage, knocked out some of the windows. There are also some windows knocked out on this side. So the Myriad Botanical Garden is closed, some of the streets below closed, and you kind of wonder, with the kind of wind that Dr. Postel is talking about in the lower levels of the atmosphere. Now, this is not 3,000 feet. You know, we're talking about 800 feet here. But still, with what's coming at us tonight, you wonder if that's going to cause more damage to that tower as a result of some of those winds. You can see the windows are boarded up. But certainly, you know, when you get gusts up that high, the winds are going to be a lot stronger than they are on the ground. Guys, it looks like from some of the model data, our threat is going to come more toward the 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock hours. Certainly as we get in toward tonight, we'll just have to watch as things advance toward us. Right now, the action is to our north, it is to our northwest, and it is to our southwest down into Texas. We've already had tornadoes on the ground in many of these places. Stick around, complete show, 4-hour show with Weather Underground, hosted by Mike Bettis. Also here in Oklahoma City, coming up very, very shortly, right after the break.
Good evening, welcome into Weather Underground. We've got a dangerous, violent situation unfolding right now, and we have team coverage on the ground and here in studio for you. We want to start things off right now with a look at Crescent, Oklahoma, where we are watching a tornado-warned storm as it moves through the area. We've already seen tornadoes throughout the day today, and we think we will continue to see much more. Our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes, is here. Dr. Forbes, Crescent, obviously one of the places in a current warning there in Oklahoma.
Yeah, and Crescent is north of the Oklahoma City area. This storm is moving north away from Oklahoma City, but there could be more moving in. And this is the kind of day the storms are supercells, so they could produce one tornado, it weakens, another one forms, cycling as we talk about it. And we could also get some long-lived, violent and strong and violent tornadoes. There's the storm that's affecting Crescent. There's two here in the Texas Panhandle, another one in south of Childress, and near Childress, about ready to move into Oklahoma. So 5 tornado-warned storms at the moment. All sorts of severe thunderstorm warnings also in effect. We'll start with this one. This one, we've seen tornadoes from this storm. If you look very carefully, you see a donut hole right at the back of this. We call it the bounded weak echo region. That's where the tornado would be. Logan County in Oklahoma Oklahoma with that particular tornado. It's close to the Lovell area north of Crescent now, heading off toward the north and east. Should stay northwest of Mulhall and west of the Orlando area. Very strong rotation, taking very strong rotation showing up on this one. Down in the lower region and now taking full, we're beginning to get another sign that this storm may be trying to produce a tornado there. You see some lowering of below the prevailing cloud base. Here's the velocity, very strong velocity showing up here, getting ready to cross Highway 74 north of Crescent, Oklahoma. With that, I'm going to leave that on there. There, a brand new scan has come in. Now it is just crossing Highway 74. I'm going to take a quick look. Not seeing any blues and greens circling right where the velocity signature indicates a tornado. So at this point, confirming what we're seeing, a video, not apparently a tornado in progress at the moment, at least tossing up debris, but down in that lower right corner, a continuing lowering of the cloud base there just to the left side of the screen. So this storm is definitely trying to produce a tornado. Now over on the east side of the Texas Panhandle, Collingsworth County, just to the north of Wellington, Texas, this storm is a supercell, strong rotation, heading up toward the Haddock Field, the Eric area. This one, a very well-defined rotation showing out in this one as well, north of Wellington, heading off toward I-40, and that would take it toward the I-40 area just to the west of Eric, just to the east of Shamrock. The storm just west of that is now gone severe warned around the Samner Wood area. Golf ball size hail with all that lavender core in there. It had a circulation that was near Quail, but that rotation has weakened. A pair of storms back to back here coming out of area near Childress, Texas into southwest Oklahoma, Hardeman and Harmon counties with tornado warnings. This storm has taken a little bit of a left turn, and so the hook is probably in this case going to be rain wrapped where the tornado would like to be, because the rain from the southern southwest storm is wrapping around that. So the tornado could be hidden. If it's in there, it would be around the Garden Valley School heading up toward Gould in St. Louis areas of Oklahoma. Has pretty well defined signature on that with the in the areas north and east of Childress. Now if we go back down to the storm southwest of that one is much closer into Childress. Tornado warning for Childress County, including the south side and southeast sides of Childress. Tornado would be sitting right there. This is a supercell. It has what we sometimes call bird wings, with the two arms coming out the body of the storm in the northeast. That we think is where the updraft is being intersected and the flow being split around that in the prevailing flow. So places like Kirkland, just to the south and east of the Childress area, could be having the tornado there. And here is the primary velocity signature showing up on that. There's some other what are probably noise, or it's along a gust front of this storm. So sometimes you can get more than one tornado. This could be where a new tornado is trying to form in what I was talking about, that cycling. So here are the tornado warnings that we've been talking about. All sorts of other severe thunderstorm warnings, including down in areas south of Lubbock. Near just south of Lubbock, down into the Tahoka and the La Mesa areas. Golf ball size hail, certainly a possibility with these. Other storms, we'll continue to watch these. These are kind of running along a front north of Elk City, north of Watonga, up to Enid and Ponca City. Sometimes that frontal zone can wind up giving you a chance of a tornado as well, although it's not quite as warm up in those areas. Tornado watches, particularly dangerous situation tornado watches for those strong and violent, long-lived tornadoes for Oklahoma and Texas portions here, along with hail that could be up to 4 inches in diameter. That's grapefruit size, as all the ingredients coming together. This upper air feature pushing its way east with ample wind shear and ample instability for tornado-producing thunderstorms. Dangerous day, Alex.
Yeah, absolutely. We're watching it very closely. You know, one of the areas where we think the ingredients are very much in play, or mostly in play, is in Oklahoma City, and that's where Mike Bettis is this evening. Mike, we can see it's gusty out there already.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we got a very strong low-level wind right now coming out of the southeast, and then when you go higher up in the atmosphere, those winds start to turn. They come more out of the southwest or the west, which means you're getting some directional shear, okay? So that allows you to basically get rotating supercell thunderstorms to go here. You see the American flag here over Bricktown. Basically been coming out of the south or southeast for most of the day, right? Also want to take your attention to the cranes over to the right there, right? Usually what they'll do in situations like this is they'll won't lock those down. They'll set them to be free moving so that they'll they'll go with the direction of the wind. So those 3 cranes that you see there are all oriented now southeast to northwest with the wind, it appears, at this point. But if you look at Bricktown, where we are right here, usually a pretty happening place, usually a relatively busy place, and also consider it is rush hour right now. There are just not a lot of folks out right now, which is great to see. A lot of empty parking lots here, a lot of open spaces here. And to your left, I was looking at 235 and 40 interchange, Centennial Parkway, for rush hour. Again, there are not a lot of vehicles on the road. There are some, and we'd urge you to get to your safe location as soon as you can. But for a rush hour, looks really good right now, which tells me a lot of people have taken this situation very, very seriously. Schools have closed today. A lot of OU closed today. So everyone being proactive here and saying, okay, you know what, we're going to be proactive instead of reactive. We're going to play it safe today, because we know that today is a really dangerous day for us, not only for long-lived violent tornadoes, right, but also potentially life-threatening flash flooding. So what we encourage you to do today, if you're at your safe spot already, you're at home, you're watching us right now, you're thinking, okay, I'm ready to go. We've got a tornado watch in effect, and I'm ready to go at the moment a warning is issued. But what happens if I'm also in a neighborhood that is threatened by flooding? What if my basement potentially could take on water, or my storm shelter? We encourage you to get to the lowest level that won't flood and take shelter there in an interior room. That's the best advice we can give you right now. Already rainfall rates 2 to 3 inches per hour, which certainly is going to be enough to cause some flash flooding. This could go on for hours, folks. A lot of storms right now have erupted between Oklahoma City and Wichita, Kansas along I-35. It's lit up with storms. We discourage travel on I-35. But let's take you up there to Wichita right now with our Justin Michaels. Justin.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Mike, right now we're getting an intense rainfall. We've had these for the better part of the afternoon, and the concern here is that flash flooding risk, a big concern. In fact, we could see throughout the course of this night and even overnight into tomorrow morning, 1 to 2 inch per hour rain rates, the potential for damaging hail, maybe 1 inch in diameter, maybe more than that. A very dangerous situation is setting itself up here, and there's already been flooding in this city of Wichita, Kansas today. Let's talk to Joe Pager right now. You are the Deputy Director of Public Works. So your big concern as far as keeping people safe is making sure that they can be on the roads or keep the roads as clear as possible, Joe. How do you accomplish that goal on a night like this?
Well, the main thing is for us to realize that with these very intense rainfall rates, we're going to have rapid overwhelming of our collection system for stormwater, and so there is going to be some street flooding. We're going to look for trouble areas and try to keep those open the best we can. What's
the recommendation? I think we all know the answer is, but from a Public Works perspective, on a night like this, where flash flooding, we are now in a flash flood warning. Flash flooding is expected. The entire environment's primed for it at this point. Water levels are going to build because you're so saturated as far as the soil. Your expectation to keep people safe of the people who might be going out tonight?
Well, the best thing would be to stay off the streets if you can. But if you do need to be out, you need to allow extra travel time, because there will absolutely be impacts to anybody's commute out this evening and tomorrow.
All right, and you have a city here that is used to this kind of weather. You get severe weather. Any lessons learned in the past that you're bringing into this situation?
Absolutely. We are watching the conditions very closely, and we'll be reacting on a number of different fronts depending on how this storm actually evolves in the next day.
All right, Joe Pager, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you for welcoming us to Wichita with bad weather. We appreciate it. So, Dr. Forbes, as we send it into you, I'll tell you what, Dr. Forbes, we talk about tornadoes, we talk about damaging or even deadly hail, and the flash flood threat is probably the worst kind of severe weather we can talk about, right? That is the most deadly kind of severe weather out there.
Yeah, it certainly is, although if you get the kind of tornadoes that we get today, strong and violent, big wide tornadoes moving very fast, that's a combination, that's a recipe that we could certainly have a deadly day from tornadoes as well. And we get word from the Lubbock National Weather Service that wind-blown hail is damaging trees or even destroying trees in Lubbock from severe thunderstorms there. We have tornado warnings ongoing in Oklahoma and the eastern part of the Texas Panhandle at this point. This storm has produced tornadoes. We've been watching this. It's north of Crescent here, heading up toward the Marshall, the Perry area of Oklahoma, Garfield, Logan, and Noble counties with a tornado warning. You can see the well-defined hook echo showing up here. The inflow comes in here. The rotation, the supercell has a rotating updraft that spirals the precip around, so the storm takes that hook shape. Heading up toward the Gansel area and off to the west of Orlando. Very well-defined, very tight rotation here. We've been monitoring this storm on video from KFOR. then let me go back. We've just lost, or just about to lose, the tornado warning there, but a brand new one has just popped up in Oklahoma. And taking a look at this one with around the Watonga, Oklahoma area, Blaine, Custer, and Dewey counties with the tornado warning in areas near Hitchcock, Thomas, and the Watonga area. Some of these storms still ongoing pretty strongly in areas between Wellington and in Texas and Eric in Oklahoma. We'll see if the National Weather Service reissues that watch. Hardeman and Harmon counties, a pair of storms back to back, one a little left of the track than the other. This one has taken a little bit of a turn to the left, so places like Gould and McQueen could get a rain-wrapped tornado hiding from some of the rain coming off the storm to its south and west. That one is heading off to the north and east, and then coming just to the east of Childress now, Childress County in Texas with a tornado warning. That one would be coming up toward Lewis, Texas. The rotation on this one has weakened a little bit, but it is just on the east side of Childress, Texas at the moment. So there are the tornado warnings that we've been talking about. Additional severe thunderstorm warnings in quite a few places, including those storms that are blasting through Lubbock. Look at the green outflow boundary. Some of the rain and hail-cooled air coming there. Big storms down north of La Mesa in Texas. Some of these storms north of Elk City, including the new one, Watonga. This is one that's rolling along a frontal zone. The storm we've been following here, now getting north and west of Stillwater, is about ready to run into that front. So within, say, the next half hour or so, it may begin to lose some of its rotation as it gets into some of the cooler air. Tornado watches, particularly dangerous situation tornado watches. Long-lived violent tornadoes, a possibility in these Oklahoma areas as well as the Texas areas. And a tremendous amount of instability. The strong and even extreme instability in these white colors south of the frontal zone. It's in the 50s north of the frontal zone, in the 80s south of that, and tremendous amounts of wind shear, especially in the Oklahoma area. Surface winds coming in from the east and winds at 5,000 feet coming in from the south. So all the ingredients, including the upper forcing, coming together for this extreme tornado threat where we've given today torcons of 9, and we're seeing warnings and we've seen tornadoes in that area. Alex?
Yeah, we think things are going to continue to progress eastward into places like Oklahoma City. Jim Cantori is also there this evening. And Jim, you know, hard to also ignore the fact that 6 years ago today, we had that EF5. Unfortunately, could history repeat itself?
There's no question, Alex, that played a role in the decision to, send the kids home early. Plus, if you, looking at some of the guidance this morning, a lot of the guidance suggested we would get stuff on the warm front at as early as 10 a.m. And we will be full board at 2, 3 o'clock. But it looks like some of this stuff may wait till after 6 o'clock to actually go here in the Oklahoma City metro area, which is fine. Gives everybody a chance to get home, or as many as can, and certainly get ready to hunker down for this. Again, Mike and I are in the same place. Essentially, I'm up a little higher, maybe on this parking garage. We're right across from the Chesapeake Arena. You can see the same flag that Mike pointed out right over there, howling out of the east-southeast over toward the Bricktown area. Scoot right to Mr. Safer. I want to show everybody Interstate 40. This is where 40 and 235 come together here in Oklahoma City. But really, again, guys, as traffic goes, it has been quiet all day. And if about 3 minutes ago, there were about 3 tracks full with train cars. And at one point I was looking out and I was going, holy smoke, there are more train cars out here than there actually are vehicles on the road, which is great, obviously, because we are going to get into this threat tonight. Now, what I'm worried about is once the rain and the convection gets here, once we certainly get over the initial supercell threat, do these storms line out right over Oklahoma City? And there is the possibility that then just kind of slowly redevelop and move off to the east and wait for another push of this upper trough. That puts us into the flood threat, and more than likely that flood threat will be after the sun goes down. So very concerned about that, ramping up as well tonight. That was one of the big stories here in Oklahoma City, how we essentially had a twofold high-risk threat for severe thunderstorms as well as a high risk for flooding. So these have yet to come to fruition here in the metro area, but this area knows all too well that we got a long night ahead of us. We'll be right back.
Look at the water. Trusted.
I want to get right to it.
Reliable.
This is just beginning.
Accurate. You're watching America's #1 weather network, the Weather Channel.
A flash flood watch is in effect. Currently in our area, 51 degrees with a thunderstorm. Tonight, windy with thunderstorms. A few storms may be severe. Low 49. Tuesday, variable clouds with showers and scattered thunderstorms. High 73. Here's our 7-day outlook.
All right, folks, welcome back into Weather Underground. I'm meteorologist Tevin Boone joining you from the plains of Oklahoma. Everything but a plain day today. We have a dangerous day on tap for us here in portions of the South as we are still tracking a dangerous outbreak of tornadoes and severe thunderstorms in this area. But take a look at what we're dealing with right now. We have winds actually coming out of the north. They're starting to pick up at this moment. We are in a tornado warning. However, we are not near the center of circulation of that tornado warning cell. But just look at how dark these clouds are. The winds are picking up again, gusts right around 30 to 35 miles an hour. I have been told by first responders these sirens will likely go off here any second now, so we'll watch for that. But again, we're in Sayre, Oklahoma. That's about an hour and 15 minutes west of Oklahoma City along the interstate, and there's a tornado warning to the south of Texola that we are watching for this cell. It's moving to the north and east right around 40 to perhaps 50 miles an hour. So Texola, Eric, and anyone in Sayre, take your tornado precautions right now. You want to go downstairs under something, center of your home, a sturdy structure, and keep away from windows. If you are in a mobile home, now is the time to go ahead and get to something a bit more stronger, because those mobile homes or manufactured homes are not the best. And one more thing before I wrap up, Dr. Forbes, what do you think about this? We started the day at 75 degrees. It's now 56 at the Elk City Airport. 56 degrees, a 20-degree drop in 1 hour.
Yeah, that is the consequence of all that rain, and you weren't very far away from a front anyway. That north of the front, it was in the 50s, so south of the front, it's in the 80s. Particularly dangerous situation that was showing up there is potential for long-lived, strong and violent tornadoes, wide ones as well as big hail up to 4 inches in diameter and up to 80-mile-per-hour wind gusts. And we've had measured gusts just south of Lubbock of 75 miles per hour. I'm showing you here the satellite imagery. You can see the wisps of high cloud. That's a jet stream coming in aloft. And then with just a little heating this afternoon, the storms have just exploded across the Texas Panhandle and up into Oklahoma, with 2 of those storms right here having confirmed tornadoes at some point with those, and 3 more storms there near the Texas-Oklahoma border with tornado warnings as well. Here's one of these storms that's off to the north of the Oklahoma City area, off to the near Stillwater, just to the northwest of Stillwater now, Garfield and Noble counties. I think you could see the swirling motion with 2 arms spiraling around, so the tornado would be sitting there just southwest of Perry, coming up in toward the Gansel area at about 426. These storms moving at 40 to 50 miles per hour, so they can move pretty quickly. That'll get toward the municipal airport of Perry as well. Very well-defined circulation showing up on this. So this is one of these storms where we've seen had confirmations of tornadoes from time to time. And these storms are sometimes cycling. Produces a tornado, it gets rain-wrapped, choked off, and then a new one will form. A little farther to the northwest near Watonga, this one has also had a reported spotted tornado. Blaine, Custer, and Dewey counties in Oklahoma, a possible tornado. Getting close to the Highway 270 area, that will come up into the Eagle City, the Cody, the Butcher, the Hitchcock, the Parvin areas of Oklahoma. This one not as easy to detect in terms of the velocity signature. Then, just coming out of Texas into western Oklahoma around the Eric area, Beckham County with a tornado warning. I think you can see the hook echo. That's a characteristic of these supercells that rotate and spiral themselves into a hook around the rotating storm's updraft, and that one would be very close to Eric at this point, then heading off toward places like Sayre. So this one could get very close to Tevin's area. This one is running right along that frontal zone, so just a few miles south of where the temperatures have cooled down, it could still be unstable enough, and so just south of Sayre in particular could be under threat. There is a velocity signature heading toward the Eric area, pretty well defined. Then coming out of the Childress area into Oklahoma, Hardeman and Harmon counties, there's a pair back-to-back of supercells here. The one to the northeast is a little left of track of the other one. That one is could be rain wrapped because of the rain coming in from the storm to the south. So that one could be having a rain wrap tornado tracking toward Hollis, Gould, Schroeder, the Russell areas. The weak circulation, as we kind of would expect by ingesting some of the rain-cooled air, is weakening, but the storm to the south has gone away from the Childress area. Childress County still with a tornado warning, but it too seems to be weakening somewhat. It's right around the Garden Valley School area, heading up toward the Gould area. The rest of the pictures, I've said, a bunch of severe thunderstorms, some producing very large hail and some very strong winds, and they could produce tornadoes as well across other parts of Texas. Alex?
All right, Dr. Forbes, thanks so much. Obviously, a really dangerous situation shaping up. In addition to the severe weather threat, don't want to discount the possibility that we get in on heavy rain that could lead to a high likelihood of flash flooding. In fact, some of the same areas under that high risk of severe weather, under a high risk of flash flooding, and that includes Oklahoma City. Mike Bettis, we've got really a double whammy of threats coming for the city.
Yeah, we do indeed. And then, you know, I look back to maybe an infamous tornado in this area, the El Reno tornado back in 2013, which was known quite a bit for the tornado itself. But it was that day we actually lost more people in flooding than we did that infamous tornado, the largest tornado in American history, 2.5 miles wide. So think about that for a moment, okay? You take a look at downtown Oklahoma City. Obviously, a very murky atmosphere. We've got low cloud deck force right now. You're not going to get that classic blue sky and giant supercell that forms, and you see it coming miles and miles away. Visibility will be difficult today. But the good news is, a lot of people, because the town seems very, very quiet right now, the town has taken this very, very seriously, and they should. Through the remainder of the evening, the threat will be high for both tornadoes and flooding. We're back after this.
All right, take a look at those dark and stormy clouds there off in the distance. You're looking live right now from Sayre, Oklahoma. And if you're sort of confused, you would think, okay, yeah, we're getting a lot of flow from the south. Well, those clouds are actually going from the north to the south. Back towards the south and southwest, that's actually where we do have that tornado warning cell closer to Eric. We are under a tornado warning right now. Not hearing sirens. That's okay. We're still a bit away from this tornado warning cell, but again, we are under that tornado warning. So for anyone in Eric, you definitely want to take your precautions right now, and Sayre as well. And by the way, we too are taking precautions. Our shelter is right here. We have a storm shelter here in Sayre, Oklahoma. Again, about an hour and 15 minutes towards the west of Oklahoma City. But just look at how fast this moisture and these clouds are racing in, almost like inflow, into the center of this storm here. Very dark skies towards the back. It is also cold. We've got temperatures right now right around 55 degrees. That's another thing that we were able to take note of here. The temperatures dropped by 20 degrees in less than an hour's time. Some of that I definitely think came from a downdraft of a tornado warning cell to our north. But let's bring in Dr. Greg Forbes. He's the expert on all things severe weather and tornadoes. And Dr. Forbes, kind of explain to us what we're seeing here with this northerly flow.
Well, you're very close to a frontal zone, and by the way, it kind of looks like there's a little bit of a roll cloud there, that little tube that's horizontal right near the treetop area there. So taking a look at the big picture, right around in here, there's a frontal zone with temperatures in the 50s and easterly flow, and maybe even a northerly flow, versus southerly flow here and temperatures in the 80s. And so you probably are getting a little bit of a frontal push just into your situation, into your location, by virtue of being close to that front. Now, we have a number of tornado warnings, including one that is very close to Tevin's location. So I'm going to start with that one. We have a brand new tornado warning also in southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri. Let's start with the one that's closest to Kevin. We're talking about Blaine County near the Watonga area. If I've got the right storm pulled up here, that's going to be coming up toward the Loyal area and heading up toward right over Watonga at the moment. So a dangerous storm there. Here's the brand new tornado warning. This one has been a spotted tornado that has been seen about 10 minutes ago in Kansas. Tornado warning for Barton, and it crosses over into Crawford and Jasper counties in Missouri. This one would be right along that line there, places like Nashville and then Lamar over into the Missouri area. There is some circulation there just to the east of Pittsburgh, Kansas. So a dangerous storm there where the tornado has been seen. This is the storm we've been watching. It has come from north of Oklahoma City. Now it's northwest of Stillwater, Garfield and Noble counties, close to the Perry area with a tornado, heading up toward Gansel and the Perry Municipal Airport region. Probably some contamination there by hail that's embedded within the storm as well. This one is actually the storm that is, I believe, this one is a little bit farther west than Oklahoma, Eric, Oklahoma area, heading across Beckham County. This one is the one that is closest to Tevin's location, heading up toward the Sayre area and then toward the Elk City area with a possibility of a tornado. And there is definitely some circulation showing up here. Probably the main threat now just north of I-40 and heading toward the Sayre area. So certainly a circulation on here that suggests we could have a tornado. It could be rain wrapped, so you need to be seeking shelter if you're in the Sayre region. Then down has come out of Texas into southwest Oklahoma, Hardeman and Harmon counties with a tornado warning there. That's that particular storm there. So a lot of hail farther south and west of that in Texas. Alex?
All right, Dr. Forbes and Tevin, thank you. The siren's going off right now as we look live at Tevin's location. You can see how quickly
Yeah, you can hear the sirens going off, Alex. We're in Sayre, Oklahoma again. Lightning starting to flash right now. Clouds are racing into the center of this storm. I'm going to query this really quickly on my iPad just to see approximately about 4.5 to 5 miles away. This cell is moving towards the north and east at about 40 miles an hour. So any moment, if you're in the Sayre area, go ahead, take your tornado precautions right now. Look at how dark these clouds are. Again, this storm is coming from the south and west, so you are looking at that general direction of where we're expecting this tornado warning cell or this tornado to come through if it does maintain. Now, it is a bit cooler, so it's going to run into some colder air, but I will let you know this, it's already going right now. It does look like it has a decent rotation or a tight couplet with it showing up on the velocity index here. So again, a tornado warning cell moving closer to the Sayre, Oklahoma area. Of course, this is just the beginning of what's to come throughout the day today. The Weather Channel, we will be here to keep you safe. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Tevin Wooten in Sayre, Oklahoma has sought shelter, but we're going to get you to Gould, Texas, also under a tornado warning. So Sayre and Gould, we are in the far western part of the state of Oklahoma, both areas under tornado warnings, and you can see John Humphreys is out there on the roads. As we look off in the distance, it's tough to see some of these. Dr. Forbes has mentioned that we do have an overall possibility that some of these could be rain wrapped. Now you can see some lowering there on the left-hand side of the screen. Hard to see if it reaches all the way to the ground and if we are in fact looking at a tornado. Right now we've got raindrops on here, but obviously closer to it, heavy rain and possibility of hail. Dr. Forbes, we've really got all threats on the table. In fact, our particularly dangerous situation watches include a hugely high threat of all tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds.
Yeah, those PDS watches that we have today are basically the top percentage chances of the tornadoes that are strong and violent, long-lasting tornadoes of the large hail, and it could be up to 4 inches in diameter, grapefruit size, and strong winds could be up to 80 miles per hour. And taking a look here at the radar, then we've been talking about this temperature, and I thought I would show you a contrast here near where Tevin is located, and the temperatures are in the upper 70s and 80s in this southerly flow. North of this frontal zone, the blues there are in the 50s or even around 50 degrees. So there's quite a front there focusing some of these storms, and you see a lot of the storms running right up that frontal railroad track, if you will. A number of tornado warnings, several of which we've had sightings on, at least 4 storms right now with tornado warnings. This is a storm where Tevin Wooten of the Weather Channel has sought shelter because of being under a tornado warning. Beckham County in southwest Oklahoma, including the communities now east of Eric, but up into the Sayre area. Seems like the circulation is probably near Hext, heading right into Sayre, and the Merritt area would be also heading toward Elk City. Very well-defined greens, albeit very complicated circulation showing up within this, coming right across the Sayre area at this time. Then farther northeast, coming out of Kansas, near the Pittsburgh area into Missouri, near the Lamar area. Barton, Crawford, and Jasper counties with a tornado warning. Earlier, there had been a tornado sighted with this particular storm. So places like Lamar and Milford, the Newport area in Missouri now under threat. Circulation is still right about in here, but it seems to be weakening somewhat. But that would be taking it toward the Highway 160 area west of Lamar. Then a storm we've been watching a long time, moving more northward. Originally was near Oklahoma City. Now it is gone northwest of Stillwater, Noble County in Oklahoma. You can see here a supercell thunderstorm. I think you could see there the spiraling on the southwest part of that storm. So just north of Perry now would be where the tornado is, near the municipal airport, coming up toward the Red Rock area. These storms today moving 40 to 50 miles per hour, so very difficult to keep track of on radar, as well as you don't want to wait to see them coming. You need to be seeking shelter when you get that warning. So here's the circulation now heading toward Highway 412, or probably over Highway 412, heading toward Red Rock area. Then coming out of Oklahoma, out of Texas into Oklahoma, Hardeman, Harmon, and Jackson counties. You could see here well-defined hook echo. The tornado would be sitting right in there, coming up toward the Gould area. Other severe thunderstorms producing some of that large hail and measured gusts south of Lubbock around 75 miles per hour. So a very dangerous day. These storms also training, so a flood problem could also be in effect for many areas before the evening is over. Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Lubbock, you're all under particularly dangerous situation tornado watches as late as 10 o'clock. They may go later than that this evening for 4-inch hail, 80-mile-per-hour gusts and tornadoes. We've given this area torcons of 9, 90% chance of a tornado within 50 miles for these white areas. So, Alex, dangerous afternoon and evening in progress, parts of Texas and Oklahoma.
Absolutely. It seems like from Mike and Jim shots that people are at least heeding the warning and, staying put this afternoon. That's the best thing you can do. Here's what we know right now. NOAA's Storm Prediction Center has issued a rare high risk of severe storms today and tonight. The first high risk that in more than 2 years. And this high-risk zone includes Oklahoma City. Strong, long-track, and potentially violent tornadoes are likely from Texas into Oklahoma. And that PDS, or particularly dangerous situation tornado watch, is in effect until 10 o'clock Central, as Dr. Forbes just mentioned. The only other watch like this with exceptionally high percentage chances of tornadoes, hail, and damaging winds was issued back in Alabama during the April 2011 super outbreak. Let's walk you through the next few hours, because I know obviously there's a lot of worry, and rightfully so, as to what's going to unfold as we head into the later afternoon and evening hours. Well, we just talked about those tornado watches, the particularly dangerous situation, meaning the conditions are very favorable for tornadoes across the Oklahoma City area until 10 o'clock local time. Right now, a lot of the activity is focused to the north and west of Oklahoma City, but we do expect this to move eastward as we go through the next few hours. So take a look at the future radar as we get you towards, say, 8, 9, 10 o'clock local time. That line of storms begins to race closer to Oklahoma City, places like Tulsa as well, and you can see a lot of rain focused over these areas as well as we get into the evening and overnight, and that's going to only increase the threat of flash flooding as well. So even when the severe threat lowers, Your threat isn't over because flash flooding is going to be a very big concern. High risk of flash flooding in some of the same areas today. We'll be right back.
A flash flood watch is in effect. Currently in our area, 50 degrees with light rain. Tonight, windy with thunderstorms. A few storms may be severe. Low 49. Tuesday, variable clouds with showers and scattered thunderstorms. High 73. Here's our 7-day outlook.
A very violent afternoon and evening of weather unfolding right now across the plains. I'm meteorologist Mike Bettis in Oklahoma City. Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas are the targets right now for tornadoes, as well as flooding from rivers, creeks, streams, but also flash flooding. Some rainfall rates 2 to 3 inches an hour right now, and we could have multiple rounds that come through the same city through the evening, which means you could get 6 or more inches of rain. The tornado threat is going to be there. We have numerous tornado warnings already issued, plus a tornado watch. A particularly dangerous situation, meaning large, violent, long-track tornadoes, and you need to take this situation very, very seriously. That watch goes until 10 o'clock tonight. I want to bring in our severe weather expert, Dr. Greg Forbes. Dr. Forbes, when you look at particularly the sky that we see behind us right now, it's going to be very soupy today. We're not going to get a lot, I don't feel like, of storm spotter confirmations today. A lot of these are going to be radar confirmed, which means to me, and maybe you feel the same way or differently, that when that warning is issued, people need to take shelter right away. Don't go outside and look out your window or go outside in the front porch and look for visual confirmation, because you may not see the tornado.
Yeah, it's that, plus the fact that these storms, some of the tornadoes could be moving 40, even 50 miles per hour. They could be strong and violent and wide tornadoes in some cases, which gives them quite a bit of damage and even fatality producing capability. So you need to be taking these situations today and these warnings very serious, just as Mike said. Right now, newest tornado warning is one near Childress, Texas, one in southwest Oklahoma, one in southwest parts of Missouri. So we've lost some of the other tornado warnings that were in western Oklahoma and northern Oklahoma. Here in Childress County, south of Memphis, Texas, and off toward the northwest of the town of Childress. Childress and Hall counties, well-defined supercell thunderstorm. A couple of bird arms. You could see the rotation, I think, there. The circulation heading up toward the Rolla, the Wellington, the Newland area. And well-defined circulation showing up here, greens eastbound, reds westbound, going to pass in between Esteline and the Memphis area across Highway 287. Then up into southwest parts of Missouri. This one, a little bit more of a line with a kink in that, heading toward the Lamar area. And the Cedar areas of Missouri. Circulation seems to gradually be weakening. There are some small circulations there, but kind of like these circulations along the line, they do have a tendency to come and go. We've lost the tornado warning that we had around the Perry, Oklahoma area, but still have one in southwest Oklahoma, Harmon and Jackson counties. You see the appendage sticking out the southwest side here, about ready to cross the highway here near Gould. So Gould, Schroeder, the Russell area is a possibility of a tornado. Pretty well-defined tornado circulation there near Gould. I'm going to see if I can find and see if there's any debris signature showing up with this one. That was a little bit ambiguous. There are some little blue and green specks showing up in there. I'm not sure if that's clear air or if that is debris, but I'd be very concerned right in and just to the west, the north side of Gould in Oklahoma at this point. So there's the tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings all the way down south of the Lubbock area, and we'll also go to Dr. Knabb for talking about some of these storms in northern Oklahoma and southern parts of Kansas are beginning to train, Dr. Knabb. So that means one thing, a flood threat, right?
Yeah, and some places have already gotten a couple of inches more to go, and it could be a very, very long night in portions of Kansas and Oklahoma particularly, and we've got numerous flash flood warnings in effect. You've got that front that Dr. Forbes has been talking about, and you've got a lot of ascent going north of there, so even if you're not in the warm sector down in Oklahoma and Texas, there's still a lot of rain coming down, and it's going to be raining for hours and hours. Look at all these flash flood warnings that have popped up within the last couple of hours, so let's go to each of them one by one here. This one includes Wichita, Kansas, and it's in effect until midnight. I would not be shocked if that gets extended even beyond that time. Look at the training going on here. It is really coming down, and it's going to continue to be the case well into tomorrow morning. Now, over to the southeast of there, in Independence, Kansas, there have already been some reports of stranded vehicles, a little bit of some water rescues having to go on, so there's a warning there until 8:15 local time, and again, with how much more is yet to come, that could extend beyond that time. Not too far north of Oklahoma City, in the Ponca City area, in Enid and Blackwell, there's a flash flood warning until 6:45 p.m. local time, and there's more coming out of the southwest in that area. And by the way, you've got a flash flood warning just to the southwest of there in the Fairview and Helena areas. So backing out a little bit again, you can see how much training is going on. It is really going to ramp up, and I would not be shocked to see somewhere get a flash flood emergency. There's flash flood watches in effect for much of Oklahoma and Kansas, even getting into metropolitan Kansas City and into Springfield. And if you look at the future radar, it is very concerning how much upscale development there is and training that will go on, Alex, well into tomorrow morning.
Yeah, a lot of concerns on the table there across the central U.S. We've also got thunderstorms up in the northeast tonight. I want to get you to a severe thunderstorm warning in Providence, Rhode Island, and into Massachusetts. So we are looking at Bristol, Norfolk, and Providence counties. This includes the city of Providence, as this storm is really knocking on your doorstep. Could bring you 60-mile-per-hour winds. So beware this. Trees could be falling for your late-day commute. We'll be back after this.